Oh, God.
So, Eric, I am wearing an ugly Christmas T-shirt because we do not have ugly Christmas sweaters here in Miami.
Oh,
So
true.
It'd be a
There's
little
your
ugly Christmas T-shirt. It's a
I'm
Doctor
wearing
Strange ugly Christmas T-shirt.
I'm wearing my funeral suit.
my shirt actually is kind of funny. It says, "Keep calm. I'm the database administrator."
Ooh, where'd you get that from?
I don't know. Mike got it for me for my birthday.
Nice.
Must have had that special printed. I don't know. I've never seen one of those before. Usually I get inundated with like dumb gifts, like job related gifts, and I'm just like, I don't.
Yeah.
Us are the new MS. Oh, okay.
Nanoseconds are the new milliseconds.
I was thinking it was a Microsoft thing, and I'm like, what is that?
It's that too. It's that too.
It's actually a new fascist Greek political party that you're just showing the symbol for.
What's with all the fellow humans in here, Brent? I thought you were switching it back to their names.
They've already signed up.
But it's only the new people who go from here on out. Yeah.
Gotcha.
A bunch of fellow humans grandfathered in.
So we can see like Brian Carmichael, Troy Tradich, Michelle David. Michelle says, is there video? Nope, there's no video at all. None.
We're just not video people.
Someone
our
says,
faces are on screen.
thank you for the card. Yes, so if you're one of our training customers or consulting customers, in-person customers, whatever, your holiday cards should be hitting your email box now. So the Christmas cards went out about a little over a week ago.
Cool.
They
How
may
come I
have
didn't
gone
get
to your
one yet?
accounting department, but they're fancy. And Erica has the box of leftovers, so they're going out to the employees. So you guys should get
This is not Christmas until that card's up on the fridge.
Yeah, you and me both, man. That was immediately like, woohoo!
Yeah, right?
Well, I guess we should get started. It's 14 after the hour.
Yeah,
Let's see
why
here.
not?
Bye, Brent. I don't know what that means, but we'll let that pass.
Because you were going to leave.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I was going to leave. But I just couldn't tear myself away from you fine people. So much fun. Michelle asks, how do you convince a storage administrator that the database is having I/O issues?
Chainsaw.
It's a tall order. Yeah, I've worked in large companies with the large DBA teams and large SAN teams, and talking with them about I/O issues can be challenging because in their monitoring tools, they're not seeing the I/O issues that we're seeing on the server. So they point the finger back at the server, at Windows, at SQL, and we point the finger back at them. It can take a lot of tools to figure out where the actual issue is. Now, the one problem I have with the monitoring tools that the SAN teams use is that they are averaged over a minute, so they're not seeing the heavy spikes that we might be seeing because maybe it's fine 45 seconds for each minute, but that 15 seconds is where we're being hammered, and because it's getting averaged out, they won't see it. One thing that I've worked a lot with SAN teams as well as Microsoft to figure out where the issue is, and you can open up a case with Microsoft for help in determining if it's an issue on the server or somewhere outside the server. And so they use it's an ETW trace that they can help you with, and they can interpret it, and it'll tell you is the problem on your server or external to it. Now, if it's external to it, you might have to get other people involved besides SAN teams. You might have to put some kind of I forget what they're called, but they can put some wire captures, packet captures on there to see where the problem is. Because it could be fiber, could be a lot of different places.
Oh, Brent, we lost your audio.
Next up, we have...
Oh no, it's just way lagged.
No!
You're like 30 seconds behind. You're doing it.
Problem of cell phone connections. I lost my chance to do like the Japanese talking movie thing there and having my mouth move without the picture move.
No, you're still doing it. You still got that going. It's good.
Dang it. Well, Eric, why don't you ask the questions? Well,
Okay.
Richie, you should ask the questions.
Yeah, Richie should ask the question.
I am experiencing.
Can I follow up? Can I follow up on Tara's question first while I play with my hand thingy? Is that I would run Crystal Disk Mark, and I would show the SAN team the results I get from that. And, we have a blog post on our site. If you just search brentozar.com for Crystal Disk Mark or Disk Speed, Disk SPD, you'll get some primers on a couple different ways to test your storage out. Now, I would actually turn your question around and ask you why you think you have a storage problem, and then I would ask you to meet your SAN team in the middle on the connections to the SAN, because that's usually what the problem is. The SAN's usually cruising along, the SQL server is usually cruising along, but you usually have a really crappy either single connection or like not a very good double connection to the SAN on the server. So that's what I would do there.
We also have a request for a shout out to Rich Hansel, or Hansel. So there you go, Rich. Howdy.
Oh.
The hotel housekeeping staff said to send you the house shout out. I said, yep, you're doing a much better job cleaning the room. That's totally not true. Next question. I am seeing trace write weights among my top weight stats. Should I be concerned about trace write weights?
Not really. I would only be concerned if I had like double the trace time weights as uptime, because that might mean that a couple people are running traces. But if my trace write time to my uptime is kind of 1-to-1, I'm not that concerned. It usually means that there's a monitoring tool or something else keeping an eye on your server. But it's kind of one of those like benign weights that's not really going to do much.
Man, Troy has a great question, and I think we're all going to like chiming in on this one. He says, our network engineers are replacing our spinning disk storage with solid state. And our vendor says, with solid state, we don't need maintenance plans. Can I really get rid of my maintenance plans?
I'm not sure what they mean by maintenance plans. Are they referring to the actual maintenance plans that SQL Server is providing, or they're referring to something else? Because I don't know how disks are going to determine if you're using maintenance plans or not. Regardless of my storage, I'm using, Ola Hallengren solution, for instance, or some custom solution, and I just stay away from maintenance plans regardless.
Yeah, I mean, we like to say that index fragmentation doesn't matter anyway. So, what kind of drives you're on, who cares? But yeah, don't get rid of all your maintenance plans, because some of them might be taking backups.
So you're saying that they're probably referring to the index maintenance. So I mean, is the question if they can get rid of the index maintenance plan, or maybe you still use a custom solution? So I'm not sure what exactly they're saying.
I hope it's not that they're talking about getting rid of backups. That would be bad. Next question is, next comment, or CheckDB. Next comment is, Metallica's new album rocks, if you care.
I do care.
Yeah. As long as
it used to be my favorite band.
As long as I can still hear the Black Album, that's all I really care about. I could keep hearing that forever.
Jay-Z's Black Album? Or
Black Albums out
there. Anyone who has a Black Album, I'm into the.
Really, I'm listening to the Hamilton mixtape right now. That's why I'm not paying attention to you guys. So, sorry.
I believe it. I would sing songs off of there, but I haven't gotten that one yet. So, yeah. Next up, Vladimir asks, what happens when I do a truncate table with always-on availability groups? How does the truncate table command get replicated between nodes?
It's still a log transaction. It just isn't. It just deallocates the pages, I think, and so that you'll still get the truncate on all your replicas.
And it's quick. It's still quick.
Mm-hmm. Well, faster than a delete anyway, usually.
Yeah. Yes. Brian asks, when I add more RAM to the database server, like from 64 gigs to 128 gigs, is there any reason not to increase the max memory parameter all at once? Should I inch it up incrementally, or just go straight up to the number I want to end up at?
Just go straight up. SQL Server is going to incrementally, incrementally start using it. The code that I had, 2-3 weeks ago is still here. I might consider going to see what's going on. So I apologize at times.
See, someone asks, doesn't SQL Server Agent have the smarts to avoid daylight savings time problems?
Like what?
Elaborate on the problems you're having. I'd be curious to hear more about that.
So I used to work for a job where we had to store our servers had to use GMT time zones so that we could do easy conversions for all the time zones where our customers were, and so there was a lot of code changes that had to go into we were actually using a scalar UDF to do the time zone conversions at the time, and a lot of work had to go into once the daylight savings time rules changed. Now that was all custom code. There's no issue with SQL Server. I think that maybe around the DST savings time, maybe there was a hot fix, and then it got put into a service pack. So just make sure you're not running really old builds of whatever version of SQL Server you're using.
And because it's also really common for us whenever we code agent jobs to put our own date logic in there, so that could be some of what's going on with that. Let's see. Next up, if you have VMware, okay, it's more of a comment than anything else. I'll skip that one. Fellow Human says, I'm starting a new job where I work 100% remotely. Congratulations!
Yay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the dream.
A jam that's coming up.
10 times a day. How do you guys cope with the social isolation of working from home? Oh, that's such a good question. Who wants to go first?
I don't cope. I just stay inside now.
You like the isolation. You embrace the isolation.
I go hiking a lot, so my hiking game has definitely increased since working from home.
I mean,
you can leave the computer for a period of time and not be on call. That is what I think is the most glorious thing. Erik?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking to customers pretty much all the time over WebEx, so it's a little bit less isolated. Plus, I got a wife and kid here, so if I'm ever feeling lonely, I can just stick my head out the door. But generally, I don't know. I always kind of like the alone time anyway. Even when I'm just like, kind of locked in my office, pounding away and stuff, I kind of enjoy the solitude.
Richie, I think I'm the only really isolated one where I don't talk to customers. We don't really. This is our once a week, everybody, where we actually get face-to-face time with one another. This is probably about it. I have a wife and kids here. They're here all the time. Twitter is a good outlet for me when I just need to see what's going on and chat with some folks. The company chat room is pretty active, especially when I start stirring the pot and letting people know that, hey, you guys are too quiet. But I'm with Erik. I prefer the solitude. I have to buckle down. I could really think about things, and I kind of need silence for that, or at least really loud music to drown everything out. So that it doesn't bug me much at all. But then again, I do my own podcast where I talk with people about their lives and stuff. I'll go to user groups. I have my own user group. So there are outlets for me that are outside of really work stuff.
For me, I've been telecommuting since I think 2003, and for me it was really hard initially because I'm very much a people person. I love being around people. So I started with co-working. If you search for co-working spaces in your city, you can get a desk in an office with a bunch of other people. And what I love about co-working is they're not tech people. They're wedding photographers, artists, salespeople, independent freelancers, just all kinds of things. But I do so much work with clients and training type stuff that I can't really be in an open org anyway. So the instant 5 o'clock hits, I'm out. I'm like walk out and around. I'll take a walk, go get coffee. 4 o'clock really. 5 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock somewhere.
Actually, Brent's a people person unless you put him in a conference with 32,000 of them. And then all of a sudden he does not become a people person anymore.
Hope they don't recognize me. Brent's got the most face in all of the SQL Server world.
Pull the hat down real low.
Get you some of those cool Modi shades.
With the louvers.
Maybe a Geordie visor. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Alexandra asks, we only have one tempdb file, and then we have 16 cores on one production server. Can I just add another 7 files during business hours? And if so, what's the recommended size for each of them?
I would say, yeah, go ahead. I had tempdb files whenever I wanted, but, doesn't never really bother me. As far as the recommended size, as long as it's going to match the size and the auto growth of the current tempdb file, or else that one tempdb file is just kind of a black hole, all the queries if it's larger. And then if you make the other ones bigger, they're going to kind of absorb the work. So the same size and auto growth as the current file, and then add them, I don't know, whatever you want.
And if you don't have enough storage to add 7 more files of that same size of the first file, what I tell my clients is, add 7 files with it. You divide your total size of your first file by 8 and add 7 new files with that size, same auto growth as the first file, and then go back and shrink your first file down so it's the same size as the other 7.
Database shrinking, oh no.
Sometimes we do say shrink. Shrinking is bad, but there's some instances where you need to do it.
Shriek. They meant shriek. Database shrieking.
Oh, so we have a follow-up on the agent job question. He says, my SQL job was supposed to run every 10 seconds all the time, but when daylight time fell back, it did not run for an hour. Oh, that's really interesting.
Ah.
I would want to know more about what happened with it, because it could be a lot of interesting things around like job history tables or whatever. But if you wanted to, I would post that at dba.stackexchange.com and include as much logging detail as you can, because I haven't run into that. I've had when times fall back, it still continues to run every minute, for example, but it will be interesting to see.
And you might need to open up a support case with Microsoft on that one. It might just be a bug.
I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure it's just you. But
We've never seen bugs in SQL Server. That never happens.
one of my bugs got fixed today.
Which one?
The one on when you save an execution plan and then you go to click File, Open Recent, it's not there.
Oh, I don't even use that feature.
If I could list every Connect item I've ever put in, that would be the lowest priority that I could possibly.
It was also the easiest one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the MRU list, that was the easiest one. Sorry, guys.
Let's see. Chris says, I had a job where I was the only IT person, and now I have a whole team of goofballs, and I think it has lowered my stress dramatically. Well, you know, you can have people who are goofballs who aren't in IT as well.
All the weight's lifted off your shoulders when you have lots of people doing the work.
Larry asks, we have a simple select from a view which has two where conditions. When I run the same query from the query window, it chooses a different index. So he's saying when he runs it in the application, it performs differently than when he runs it in SSMS. What should
Brent, are you going to say your article slow in the app, fast in SSMS?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Mark it.
Oh, no, you guys go ahead. I don't know the name of the author. I mean, I know how to answer the question, but if you take it away, because I don't know who has that webpage.
Erland Summerskog.
Okay.
So
what the issue is likely is that when you connect from an application, you have different set operations than when we connect in SSMS. So what I do is, so when I'm trying to troubleshoot why it's slow in the application, fast in SSMS, I'll run let's say just a very, very quick profiler trace, only leave the existing connections in there, that event, and then start it, and then immediately stop it, and then find your user ID, and then grab those set operations that came out of the profiler trace, dump those into Management Studio, and then run your query in that same window. So that query window has the same set options as your application user. So when the set options are different, you will get different. You will have your own execution plan, and it can be different than what the app has. You can also get this through a DMV query, I believe, the set operations. But I'm just so used to doing a profiler trace with existing connections, and I only run it for 1 second, so it's easy for me.
So, and if both of the plans are in cache, and you can catch them with SP Blitz Cache, if you scroll all the way to the right in Blitz Cache, it'll give you the set.
It does? Wow, I didn't know that. I only scroll
no one ever scrolls that far.
Right, to look for the cache time and last executed, and then the execution plan. Yeah. I pretty much ignore columns, but I should start looking, I guess.
I forgot it was in there until this week.
You should see what happens when you put an expert mode equals 1. Is all.
Oh, see, I didn't even know it had an expert mode.
Bert says, I'm trying to reduce the number of TempDB data files I have. I had 4, then I tried 6, and now I want to go back to 4, but every time I try it, SQL Server tells me the file is in use, even after a reboot. Thoughts?
Probably have to run alter database, or alter whatever it is, empty file, or is it, DBC, is it shrink? It's a part of the shrink command. You have to specify the empty file, and so it'll empty the file, and it'll no longer be used, and then you'll be able to remove that file.
There's also a trick of blowing. One of you guys told me blowing the plan cache. You can have a plan cache issue. Was it you, Eric, or was it?
I encountered that at my last job. So there's a blog post on that. So but that's the shrinking wasn't working, I believe. But we couldn't shrink it down and had to free the procedure cache.
You can't blow in it like an NES cartridge?
You can, but you may have mixed results.
You have to do it again and again and again.
To hit it from the table.
Someone says, thanks for the Christmas card. If we have high log wait times on an app and we can't change the code, it's relativity, they say, And I guess immediately I got a guy. So I'm teaching a class in here this week, and immediately one of the guys from Kikira pops up. What? Any suggestions on how to improve this? So it's long wait times. I think he says log wait times. I've read it helps to commit less often, but since I can't change the code, is there anything I should do?
Get faster drives.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why stuff like relativity will have high log wait times is you're writing a lot of stuff in the database. You're doing lots of inserts, which take a long time to write. Yeah. You can get faster transaction logs. You could. I have an awful idea, but I'll wait to see what Eric's going to say.
Well, I mean, my whole thing for that is just the faster disk, because you got lawyers going through and updating one thing at a time, and then that triggers the audit record insert, and then there's just a whole bunch of other stuff going on under the covers when they change something, redact something, make a production. So there's a lot of stuff that happens whenever you change one thing. You're not just changing one thing. There's a lot of little other things going on. So the faster drives is always a good one for me, but I'm sure Brent has something nefarious to say.
I have a really bad answer, and you shouldn't quote me on this, and surely it's going down in the recording, but if you're on SQL Server 2014, there's a switch. Yeah, right? There's a switch called delayed durability, which means your inserts, updates, and deletes are considered committed as soon as SQL Server hears them. They don't even harden to disk. Now, this is so bad for two reasons. One, you can lose data when you're not expecting it, like when SQL Server fails over. Whenever there's a failover, anything that didn't make it to the disk, to log file, you're out of luck. Second, you can lose data even on a graceful shutdown. SQL Server does not flush the log file to disk when you do a graceful shutdown. So this really is like a last resort if you didn't care about the data, and when it's relativity data, I would find it very hard to believe you would not care about that data. Jackie asks, How do you guys calculate, right? I know, see, and aren't you proud to work with me? This is why I'm not allowed in front of people very often.
I mean, it's like, how do NoSQL Server?
Exactly.
They'll put out, they'll put out that as a feature, but they won't put out unlogged tables as a feature. They'll unlog everything, but you can't just choose a table for it.
Either you care about nothing or you care about everything. Yeah. There's nothing in between. Jackie says, how do you guys figure out the max stop and cost threshold settings for servers?
20-sided dies.
It's not a bad answer.
No.
We have recommendations. We have recommendations, but it's going to be depend upon your server. But we recommend cost threshold for parallelism be 50. 5 is the default, and it's a really old value, and we think Microsoft should really raise it, but they like backwards compatibility. Max stop, you may be half of your processors up to 8 though. Usually don't go over 8. And then if any queries that you have are suffering with those server settings, then you can add the option max up to that individual query to affect it, maybe to use less processors or maybe even more.
You got lots of options once you start playing around. You can even do things with like resource and guides, but of course that takes much more work. So the 50 and 8 or 50 and up to 8 works really well. Let's see.
There's actually a good script on dba.stackexchange.com, like how to calculate max stop. I think that guy Ken wrote it, and it's just a script that you run, and it basically gives you like however many cores are in a single socket up to 8. So if you have dual 6s or dual 4s, it'll give you 6 or 4.
If you happen to find that, make yourself a note and send it to me, because I'm doing like an all stack weeks link for next one. Yeah. Next one, I use a SQL command script to run deployment scripts. Oh my God, my condolences. Richie immediately is even like backing up. Tell me more.
Are you an Express edition?
Don't
Why
tell
are you
me
doing
more.
that?
No, not at all. No, I don't want anything to hear about this.
I hear there are deployment tools that do sync and compare, and I'm looking for the laziest method to deploy objects and run scripts.
I don't know. I mean, SQL CMD is easy. You're just typing in a command and you're running a SQL file through it. But as far as what other people have used. I mean, my last job used Visual Studio's schema compare to come up with the scripts, and then we would just run those in Management Studio. But I have used the SQL CMD method, not because I chose it, but that's because that was delivered from development. And that works fine too. It is a super easy way to do it, but who's writing the SQL script? If you're the one writing the SQL script, are you asking how are you generating all the commands to compare development to production so you do the deployment? And Visual Studio's schema compare does that, as well as Redgate has a schema compare as well.
So then
Redgate's the really good one. Visual Studio's the free one. I've used both with good success on both. So have at it.
Same person continues their question with a kind of a horrifying question. Also, speaking of music, we weren't speaking of music, but that's okay. I'll allow it. Is there a contemporary artist you all like? That is definitely a no.
Oh.
I don't even know if we agree on music.
Oh, you should have seen us in Austin, man. It was not pretty. It was not pretty at all. Red Hot Chili Peppers came on, and like half the room cleared out. It was almost fighting words.
That's like the worst band ever. And I like that kind of music, that genre. I just do not like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Metallica might not be that bad of a shot. Richie, no Metallica.
Nope.
Okay.
I have to draw a line somewhere.
I'm with you. It's like pre-Black Album is all I can.
That's how I am too. But they were my. I say they were my favorite band. They are no longer. I kind of liked Richie's playlist that he shared with us a few months ago in Spotify list. It was a bunch of '80s music, and so I've actually listened to a bunch of that stuff. It's really good
Actually,
list.
that was Eric's. That wasn't mine. I was doing the alt stuff. That was Eric's.
No, it was yours. Maybe it wasn't '80s, and I just can't remember what genre it was.
I have never shared a Spotify playlist in Slack because I don't want you guys poking around my other playlist.
Yeah,
mine's really easy now. It's just like been all Hamilton stuff because the kids have been singing it nonstop. So that's the past couple weeks have just been that.
All right, this one's interesting. Can you explain to me what specifically this means? And I believe it's written all over it.
That's IO output.
Scan count, some number, logical read, some number, physical read, some number, and read ahead reads, some number. I think those are lotto ticket suggestions. Is what that is.
Yeah, we may win something here.
Yeah, so you read a table multiple times. Logical reads means you read those 8K pages out of memory. Physical reads means you read some of those pages out of disk. Read ahead reads means SQL Server saw you reading a bunch of pages off of disk and started reading in front of you even further. Now,
I recently read that read aheads were an Enterprise Edition feature. Is that true?
Standard will read ahead, just not as far as Enterprise Edition.
Oh, okay.
So in terms of what it means, you only read 28,000 pages, like the logical reads thing, so that actually doesn't scare me that bad. That shouldn't be terrible. Scanning isn't necessarily bad either, so I wouldn't just go based on that.
Yeah,
Well,
the scan count
you actually have.
Yeah, well, the scan count isn't actually like scans; it's just index accesses. So it's not like you scanned the whole index that many times. And if a query goes parallel, you can have multiple things reading from it. You get a whole mess of scan counts that aren't actual full index scans over and over again. It's just chunks of the index.
There's an interesting one Kenneth asks, and I'm going to rephrase his question a little. Kenneth says, I have a query where CPU time is only a couple seconds, but elapsed time is 30 minutes. What are some things that could account for that?
Compiling.
That'd be a lot of compiling, dang. You're going to need to see what you're waiting on. Probably being blocked, I would imagine, but you're waiting on something. So during that 30-minute window, check what you're waiting on.
Disk could be reading from disk. Yeah, but I like the locking thing a lot. Sam asks, can you use SQL Server Standard Edition for development? If so, do you simply license your developers with MSDN? Developer Edition is free, so I would just use Developer Edition instead. Stick with that one. There's some gotchas around it, but yeah.
But you could license with MSDN too. I think those images are up there as well. So if you say, we really don't want any developers touching any Enterprise Edition stuff, you could do that.
I mean, I've heard, I can't confirm, but I've heard that if you are a Standard Edition shop and you have standard edition on a laptop, Microsoft's not going to make you license it like standard edition, but it's up in the air a little bit. I wouldn't bet on
But
that.
Eric's answer is due to the fact that he's covered in tattoos, and when the licensing person came to audit, they just kind of were like, yeah, no, you're good. You're all right. The follow-up on the SQL command deployment script, someone says, I hate SQL command for deployments because it only returns one line of output. If there's an error further down the script, you never know. Oh, that's a great point.
I haven't seen that occur, though. I've seen lots of outputs. I'm wondering if it's maybe just the command, so you can use the -O, I think it is, parameter to put that into a file. I haven't seen that before.
JH says, any methods to prevent blocking from a select statement?
From us? Oh, so like, do you mean like the schema stability locks that it takes?
It might even be just pessimistic locking, where the lock is taken forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what are some ways you could get around that?
Geez,
I
well,
hate
not
no
even,
lock. I like
well,
RC,
not even no lock prevents
That's true.
select
Yeah.
taking locks.
I wonder what they mean, though. They're probably talking about the select is blocking other connections, and maybe it's not just a schema stability lock.
Could be. Not sure
Yeah.
though.
Need more info.
If you search for isolation levels on our site, or if you go to brentozar.com/go/RCSI, which is funny, it's just a module I just got done presenting in class here, we have a whole section just of resources on that you might be really interested in. The big takeaway is readers don't block writers, and writers don't block readers.
But writers will still block writers.
Let's see, we'll take one more question, and I'm going through the ones that are 15 lines long, and past that. Someone says, yes, do not use locks. No. So follow up on the select thing. This person's doing an insert. He's doing an insert into a table using select from. So you could do with no lock on your select thing, but you just know you're getting dirty reads. So you could see rows twice or not see them at all, or your insert can fail.
I would like to know how many rows you're selecting, because if you're selecting a lot of rows, that could lead to higher level locks. If there's a great blog post by Michael Swart about batching modifications. I'm gonna find the link to it, and I'll put that in chat. But it's a really good read about how to batch things properly. So if you're selecting a lot of rows, you could be getting some weird locking patterns from that as well.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out with us this week. Head over to groupby.org. Group by, like you would spell a SQL statement. This is a totally free conference where you get to pick the sessions. Voting is going on right now. So go to groupby.org, pick what you want to see, and then we'll be taking the top 10 or top 5 to 7, and we're running those in January. So thanks, everybody, and see you next week.